I believe the ex-wife fabricated the assault charge against our neighbor to hide her adultery. He keyed himself later. My ex-wife had a fellow airman's $UI. Of course. I, 29F, have been thinking about writing this essay for a while, but I don't know how to describe myself or tell the story. My claims are based on guesswork since I lack proof. Just some random stuff I won't name my bases. I don't want my story to affect anyone I know or return to the military. I joined the military in early 2017. I went into this blind since no one in my family had served in the military. My ex-wife and I met at basic. I married someone I hardly knew, which is a stupid decision made by many military members. I now see that when we met in basic training, I was clinging to someone out of dread of being alone and distant from home. In basic, we didn't have any bad relationships, and I didn't want to risk my job, but we maintained in touch and married in tech school. After marrying her, my orders changed to a little base in the Western US instead of the wonderful base in a fascinating part of the world. I should have seen this as a sign from the universe. About October, she was first. I arrived at the duty station shortly after. After moving into a wonderful house, we tried to start a life. For context, my ex-wife was physically assaulted as a youngster. She had several triggers, and I tried to help her handle them. I may seem stupid, but our marriage never improved. She seems to exploit her traumas to obtain attention. When she met someone, she immediately shared her past. My name is _, and here is my childhood narrative. Off subject, but she appeared to like this best. Interesting bit of herself. About 8 months were spent on this base. She temporarily remained at a mental health center. I used to visit her there, and one day these women told me she was kissing an unidentified man in the courtyard. After hearing her account, I believed her that they were inflating and distorting the truth. They were right. I should have trusted my gut. Her friend was stationed at our post when she returned from the institution. Both he and she took time off work to acclimate. This isn't the courtyard kisser. They started hanging out more, together in her automobile. She picked me up from work one day. He was in the front seat when she walked up, so she signaled for me to sit back. It was odd, but I went in anyway since we were married. They kept talking and ignored me. I had a dreadful gut feeling that she was having an extramarital affair with him, but their unusual behavior gave me no proof, so I ignored it. I don't remember why they broke up since it's been a long. Their hangouts steadily reduced and ultimately stopped. Let me skip to the most important day. I worked as an MP on Friday nights. They asked one of my flight mates to drive down my driveway over the radio while I was driving. Placed at a gate. A neighbor saw a stranger peering through windows. My friend was asked to look at it. I don't intend to criticize him, but he seemed unwilling to work. Probably loved it, but it made him worried. So he probably drove by my street. Personally, I don't believe he checked much. After hearing that, I texted my wife to check on her. It took a while before she responded. I didn't think much of it because she was usually painting or watching TV. I was also worried about job distractions. He reappears on the radio, stating he observed nothing strange. So that was finished for tonight. After I returned to work a few days later, my wife contacted me with significant news. She asked me to keep it quiet. She then told me the neighbor essayed on Friday. My mind was racing, so I told her she shouldn't have asked me to remain silent because it was my responsibility to report. After I told her that, she became angry, drove to my building, got out of her car, and collapsed on the steps weeping and shouting that something had happened to her. The ensuing hours were spent with higher-ups, interviews, statements, reports, and hearing that we may move bases. My thoughts raced since I had never experienced anything like this. I had no idea what to do, so I supported her. A day or two later, she told me the whole tale. The neighbor stopped by and entered the garage, she added. He answered, "You seem stiff. Let me rub your shoulders," in response to her inquiries regarding his purpose. She accepted his offer without doubt. He suggested she take off her top after a minute, which she did. They went to the guest room and sat on the bed when he suggested she lay down. He flipped her over and put a bait on her chest, she said. At this moment, everything seemed surreal. For some reason, I overlooked all the warning flags in this story. They continued. We moved closer to my family since she wouldn't go near hers because they weren't close. After moving there, our marriage collapsed. My new unit's dishonest leadership made work miserable. To be patient with my wife, I cleaned the house after work and took care of everything so she didn't have to worry. She had 2 more mental health hospital stays. Her general condition never improved. Since my life was turmoil at work and grief at home, I spent all my time working or cleaning. I had a quasi-legal disagreement, CD at L, because of how this affected my mental health for a long time. Time frame. There are several insignificant occurrences that don't matter for this narrative, therefore I'll bounce about. However, a flight companion started spending a lot of time with my wife and myself in the afternoon. We were out in town when I told them I needed to visit 2 or 3 more stores. They stated they'd hang out at our apartment again since they didn't want to go. I left early to go home since I found everything I needed at one store. I arrived to find the front door closed. When I entered the living room, just my dog was there. My spouse raced down the hallway from our bedroom as I petted my puppy. She glared at my dog after a nice growl. I responded, "Oh hey, I was just in the bedroom," my friend added. "Oh hey, I was just in the bathroom looking at my eyebrows in the mirror," as he passed my room. I looked at them both curiously, feeling like I was in a sitcom. Though I dismissed it, it was always on my thoughts. Their conduct seemed odd. To put things in perspective, I was so dissatisfied in my marriage that I wanted to find out she cheated. I knew how badly I'd messed up and didn't want to tell anybody. I wanted her to explain our divorce, which sounds selfish. I was ashamed of her because she spoke only about her misfortune and never encouraged. She was always extremely sexual, even around my more conventional family, and any conversation with her was uncomfortable or cringeworthy. She completely ruled my leisure time. Even joke writing was her weak point. She became furious when no one laughed at her odd jokes. I needed to escape but didn't know how. I was completely removed from my marriage. We had a dinner gathering for our friends who reside at my place. She was still at work when most of them came, but she was on her way home an hour later. She probably wasn't feeling well, so she called me on the way home to say she thought she had a brain tumor or blockage. I will not lie. My response wasn't encouraging. I told her to go to the hospital if she thought she had a brain tumor since I was fed up with her strange behavior. She was mad with me for not driving her. The hospital was under 5 minutes away. One of our common friends, now my wife, offered to take her to the hospital when she realized I was over it. I hung out with our friends and enjoyed myself. The emergency room at this hospital sees walk-ins for an unbelievable amount of time. I had half a drink over this 3-hour time. We expected her to remain 6 hours. She calls me after 4 hours to say she is ready to be picked up and is acting responsibly. I told her I didn't know she'd leave the hospital so quickly, therefore I felt unsafe driving after half a beer. She said she exploded on me. I was thoughtless and inconsistent. It seemed wiser to move the celebration to, because she'd be different after the hospital. My other buddy volunteered to pick her up. We regret not informing him sooner. He returned home before we left. My ex shouted at me and got in my face after getting out of the car. One of my friend's moms defended me. It was funny since she was drunk. She addressed my ex-wife and told her to quit pestering me. After a tantrum, my ex-wife ran to the backyard. We decided to travel then and pack quickly. We remember that temporarily. Beer hadn't been consumed in 2 hours. I felt terrific. As soon as I got in my friend's car to leave, I heard screaming. As I turned to look at my ex-wife, she races at my car, so I put it in motion and drove away while she punches my window. It was around 0.5 miles. By waiting, I ensured my friends got it out. Nothing else seemed to be going that way. I turned around and returned. 2 of my friends were in the front yard trying to reason with her when I returned. In her rage, she tried to get in her car and go. They, trying to drag her out of the car. She tried to back out, but she sped up and nearly hit my companion. Then he talked policeman-like and demanded she get out of her car. I decided to call my squadron and ask them to send her squadron's first shirt, sort of like a mediator counselor. I invited my friend, whom I felt was cheating, over when I called him. It seemed they were close. I wished she could talk uninterrupted. She was excluded for 3 days so we could have our own space. Right after 3 days, she returned home and sat on my porch next to me, assuring me nothing will happen unless I say it. I want a divorce, I said. Since I've discussed enough about my ex-wife and the situation, I'll go into the details. Let's recall my initial confession to my husband. She was married and going through a terrible time. Since that's not the novel's primary narrative element and the details aren't vital, I won't dig into it. Now my wife is quite smart. I explained more and gave her virtually everything. She pointed for me. Illogical warning indicators and narrative holes. I had concerns and misgivings, but third-party proof helped clarify for me. Another touching detail: one of my friends was deployed for 2 weeks, or a T. After returning, he told me he had met someone from my previous base with a message. My wife's batterer sent a $1 message throughout Europe. Before Hing himself in his bathroom, he'd turned over his finances to his wife. My ex answered the phone snarkily when I told her, "Can't you have texted me this info?" After I hung up, she wrote, "Do you think he did that to himself because of what he did to me?" I didn't answer since I thought her statements were ludicrous and she was being sympathetic. Those replies put doubt on the event. More backdrop once we moved to the new base. For court proceedings, she and I flew to and from the former base numerous times. Being a witness, I couldn't sit in the courtroom for any party testimony. The facts don't fit, and I wish I could have heard his side in court. Inconclusive evidence led to charges being dropped. My current spouse and I believe Friday night's window peeking incident was caused by my ex-wife, who wanted to make an excuse before I discovered she had cheated on me with the neighbor because she knew someone from my squadron had seen it. She believed it was better to tell me the neighbor had assaulted her than just admitting it, and I imagine she hoped I wouldn't say anything and it would just go away beneath the rug. When I responded, she had to make a huge issue and go for the entire story. She destroyed the man's life, marriage, and child's future. My friends from work stopped talking to me while I was at first base. I don't know why it took me so long to grasp what I did, but I think I do now. They suspect my involvement. If somebody had that much hindsight to believe or feel that, I wouldn't judge them. I don't know how I overlooked those warning flags in every story, move, and event. They seemed to think I accepted so we could leave that little base, state, and travel somewhere better. Honestly, I had no idea. Not sure why, but I was unaware at the time. I assumed she suffered something terrible, and I was only trying to help as a spouse. Her account is no longer trustworthy since I've known how bad she is and what she's like. It has too many faults. She also got along with our neighbor and flirted with him while I wasn't home. For the record, I received proof of her infidelity after the divorce. After her affair, she started dating him. Despite their problems, he and I are good friends. It reduced her interest in me. However, we asked him about the day they left our bedroom after she and him split up formally, if they were acting, and he admitted it. It seems like she had validated all my other infidelity suspicions. I believe she cheated on me with each guy, if not more. She's evil and narcissistic. I don't feel victimized. I should have thought about this and seen the warning flags earlier. I feel terrible about what happened to that man and his family. Why I'm writing this now, after all this time. I apologize to any Air Force friends who saw my website and assure them I was unaware. No way was I leaving that base. She chose to move over the country. I was just trying to help. The story doesn't identify me, but I'm sure the details will disclose it. Do not disturb me if my ex-wife sees this website. I did not repeat the event to rehash frustrations. This story was not meant to start a drama. I needed to vent since I still feel terrible about it. Please leave any questions or comments in the comment box, and I will attempt to answer. I apologize for the lengthy post. We appreciate your whole reading. The next story. My twin sister asked me to be her surrogate since she cannot have children. I declined and subsequently found her husband. Brands her an MRD and blames her for low birth rate. I seldom use Reddit, so excuse my faults and manners. My friend suggested I use her throwaway account for this article. Kindly treat me as best you can as an internet stranger. My identical twin sister, Celeste, 30F, will be called Stacy for the story. After our mother died while working as a child, our father raised us. Stacy has been married to Jeff for 8 years, while I've dated Mike for 3. The fact that my sister was always planning weddings, nurseries, baby names, and other things showed me that she wanted to be a mother. I always preferred reading and having fun. Now I'm a flight attendant. In addition, I'm seeking novel publication. Sincerely, my sister never worked. We went straight to college after high school. A stay-at-home girlfriend after graduation, she married her college boyfriend. I knew my sister was having trouble conceiving for a while. After tens of thousands of dollars on IVF and other therapies, she has only had one loss and cannot conceive again. She chose this way to get pregnant. After 5 years of failure, started discussing alternatives. I'm not saying anything, but my sister wants a child with both of their DNA. Interested in adoption. She came over to my house 3 weeks ago and we spoke and watched Modern Family as usual. It scared me, but she requested if I could be her surrogate since she wanted to ask me a crucial question while anxious. After some inactivity, I asked her what she meant, and she stated, "I know what a surrogate it is, and I needed to be her surrogate. She knew I didn't want kids. This may be because of how we were born, but I've never liked parenting." I assured her I would not. I could give her all my eggs, but not her child. She was outraged when she heard. Her cheeks reddened as she screamed that this tiny work shows how furious and envious I am. Since she's always wanted more than 4 kids, I didn't want to attract attention to it. Does she want me to repeat this? I'm becoming ill. She concluded that I could never be her sister if I couldn't accomplish this one thing for her. She shattered my mantle photo of us before departing. Since then, she's only emailed me photographs of their vision boards and diaries from when we were kids, telling me to discourage her from raising a family without a strong reason and to consider the big picture. Due to the delicate nature of the matter, my boyfriend won't counsel me. He claims it's my sister. I'm close to giving up because this is my longest stretch without talking to my sister. Why didn't Ida want to be my twin sister's surrogate? Edit. Thanks so much for reading all the comments. Knowing I'm not the evil person helps me feel better, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted to go. Go ahead. I can't express how uncomfortable this distance between me and my sister is, yet I want to ask her 2 things often in hopes of a different response. Money. My father sued the hospital, and my sister and I trust that money. Provider error killed my mother. So nobody has a financial problem. Her spouse and we are wealthy. Thus, not working for 9 months or paying for egg retrieval is fine. Her stubbornness about the baby sharing our DNA and one of us carrying it in worries me. Given our similarities, how can I parent if she can't? Having a car accident together is. What caused her miscarriage and prohibited her from having children? Since our father and her were in the front seat, they took the brunt of the incident. Her body cannot maintain a child, and egg retrieval has been unsuccessful. I don't know how it happened, but it's not an option. I struggle to get her to discuss Bible alternatives so I can learn more. Doctors won't let me be a surrogate since I'm childless. Your information is really appreciated. Our parents and significant others always watch football together, so Thursday is family dinner. I'm okay if she visits him. Sure, this will come up, and I hope I can discuss it with her in 2 days. I will update tomorrow as promised. However, my dad called me when I was hanging out to invite me to dinner yesterday night to talk. First, thank you for your advice and comments. Some of you have been disrespectful to me, my sister, and boyfriend. Still appreciative for the help. I figured my dad had called Stacy, so I didn't ask what. From the answers, I know you won't like it. However, I talked to my partner about his thoughts before proceeding. He said he loved me and would always support me. He wouldn't tolerate my sister treating me like crap, and if I was under stress, he wouldn't back me, which I understand. Hey, Bill and... My sister was at my dad's while we ate. I shouted hello to them both when we entered, but only my sister replied. Bill gave me the ugliest look and greeted my guy. I could have cut the awkward silence and tension with a butcher knife when my dad sat us at the table. Please speak up, we must resolve this before tomorrow night's game. My dad loves football, LOL. At the start of our conversation, I informed her I had done some research, had additional fears, and wanted to know what she needed from me. When I asked her what being a surrogate would be like, she said, "Are you agreeing to it?" She started crying when I told her I needed more information. I asked her if she knew I had never carried a pregnancy, determined that doctor would reject me as surrogate. She acknowledged this and said she would send my bill and application to a center of excellence. Please act like a couple. After I am pregnant, I want to switch providers to her OB-GYN to continue treatment. My dad advised me against starting parenthood by forcing me to do anything a doctor wouldn't approve of. Despite his clear disagreement, he didn't take sides. He asked her why she was uncomfortable about surrogacy. My bill said, "Don't try to berate my wife with these stupid questions. Explain to your self-centered kid why she can't help her sister." That immediately shifted the mood. I was called a bitch, and my partner, shouting at him for it. My father cautioned him that disrespecting his daughters in his home would backfire. As she begged me for this, my sister was distraught. I told her I would trade places with her if I could, but I was scared and wanted to live. I probably never said that before. We couldn't repair anything else. After losing control and refusing to apologize, my father asked for my bill. As he left, my sister encouraged me to speak on the porch and meet him in the car. 2 of us only. When we went out, she apologized for her husband calling me a bitch and said they were stressed. I told her we'd figure it out and she didn't need to apologize for him. She kept telling me I didn't understand and urging me to ponder. She said. When I asked her for further details, she said her in-laws had made a cruel joke about her being a killer at one of their dinners. He said it was genuine when she asked him why he didn't defend her when they made the joke about the kid she lost. He mentioned odd things like how he loved their child's beauty and she couldn't compensate. He would never see elements of both when he looked at a youngster. He was encouraging when she proposed I carry the child. However, the way she said it suggested she thought it was her idea, almost like he planted a seed. She stated she hadn't seen him so cheerful since birth and simply needed my help to normalize things. I tried to explain that nothing would ever return to normal and that she erred. He honked the horn and rushed her to the car after she said she would call later. Despite my fear of losing my sister, I won't give her my eggs so she may have a kid with him. As per your advice, I examined egg donation procedures and… Whoa, not what I anticipated. She should divorce that man. I won't help her have children. I truly think that. Before letting her carry his child or fertilizing a child with him, I would be her surrogate mother. I had no idea his family blamed her heavily. Every time my phone rings, I jump because I know she'll call soon and I have to tell her. Despite my anxiety, I won't lose my sister. Probably won't update anymore, but thanks for helping. Reddit has me addicted, so I might start a LOL smile.